Hey everybody, Nicole here from Canadian Women of the Outdoors. I'm hoping this is the last time I have to do this kind of intro. We're just finalizing our intro that we're working on with the rights to the background music and everything. So hopefully next episode we have it. Otherwise, this hopefully is the last time you guys have to listen to this wonderful voice at the start of it. Big thank you to our sponsors, Revolution Armory and True North Baits. This is the episode that I kind of announced that True North Baits was a sponsor. It was recorded a couple weeks ago because I like to pre-record because kids, everything, you get super busy. But so this was the episode that I announced True North Baits as a sponsor. And in that case, we also got a code for them. The code is CWO10. And if you use that code on the True North Baits website, you get 10% off all plastics. And with trout upon us, great code to use. And then walleye, bass, pike, that all coming up. Again, just use code CWO10 for 10% off all plastics on the True North Baits website. So again, big thank you to our sponsors, and hopefully next episode we get the proper intro going. But otherwise, guys, enjoy the episode. We've got Hammer Hives coming on to talk about bees, and a little out of my comfort zone, and it was a bit of a week when I recorded this, so hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks, guys. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Canadian Women of the Outdoors. Some super exciting news. We have another sponsor. If you haven't heard me talk about them, you haven't been paying attention. We are really excited to announce that we are sponsored by True North Baits, quality plastics, and you need to see what the fuss is about. Chrissy knows. If you haven't, so this is another update. Chrissy, who is on the screen as well, she has been promoted from one of my best good friends to co-host. So she is joining the stage as one of my co-hosts, and so True North Baits has graciously sponsored us, so they will be providing like some awesome plastics while we get into our fishing season and stuff like that. But we're gonna digress from that. We are gonna talk about some delicious other things. I don't know how to intro this one, Chrissy. Like, how do you like? Because I mean, like, I love my honey, but how do I intro this?
You got me stumped on that one too, but just the sweetness of the sweet, right?
I was gonna say I don't know how to intro this because like I love like like honey on like deliciousness and like, but I guess okay, so Terri, I don't know how to pronounce your last name and I don't want to screw it up.
It rhymes with baloney.
Okay, Faloney. Okay.
Baloney.
I didn't want to screw it up, and I was like, so Terri Faloney of Hammer Hives out of Hamilton, Ontario. Ish Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah, Dundas, more in the Dundas Valley.
So Terri Faloney, Faloney. Oh my god, I'm gonna screw this up. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. Story of my life.
Hammer Hives out of Dundas, Ontario, is joining us tonight, and I met her at the Sportsman Show. I bought some of her lip balm, the rosemary. It's fantastic, by the way. That lip balm has been fantastic. So I guess we'll start because I've never had a beekeeper. I've never thought about a beekeeper because I'm terrified of bees, straight up terrified of bees. So like, what's your background? Like, tell us about you. Like, where'd you grow up? How'd you get into beekeeping? Like, give us a little bit of that.
Okay, a little bit of a breakdown intro.
Yeah, breakdown,
So first of all, I love bugs. Like I am truly obsessed with bugs, how they work. I'm that person. It doesn't matter if you're a bee, you're a spider, you're a butterfly. I love them all. I know. I'm the person that gets upset when I have to put the worm on the hook, to be completely honest. Do I do it? Yes. But
So you
I
fish?
feel a little bad. A little bit. I would not say I'm an expert, and please do not ask me anything in specific terms. But regardless, yeah, so I love bugs. I called myself a bug biologist as a child. It's actually an entomologist, but I wanted to be see everyone with bugs. And there was one year, our farm, we lost our horses. It was pretty down, and I'm like, you know what? Let's bring some life to this farm. So I got a couple beehives. Did they make it? No.
I'm out. What do you mean you? So I this is divulging from like, how do you just
No
go
worries.
buy beehives?
Yeah, so you do ultimately have to register them. It's ideal if you get lessons, but realistically, anybody can buy them. Your land is supposed to be agriculturally licensed, or at least 30 meters away from a property line. But anyone can buy them.
What?
Do you want some bees?
No, I'm terrified of bees. I mean,
Come
I have a
just hang out
question.
with
I
the
was gonna
bees for
say
a
Chris
day.
might have a
You'll love
question.
them.
I do have a question because we have several hives in our area where our farm is, and how far away from like a road or a water source or that sort of thing do they have to be?
So that is a good question. Water source, I don't think it's actually documented how far away from a water source it needs to be. The bees are never going to destroy the environment around them. They're not going to make that water source any worse than it actually is. It's actually the water source that's bad for the bees, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then as far as from the road, that's a good question. I should probably look that up. I am in the conservation, so it doesn't quite apply to my
Okay.
circumstances and where my yards are. Typically, they are further back, though.
Okay.
Okay, so like, how did you like get into beekeeping? Like, what really started you into that? Like, I like as a child, I grew up. So you're from Hammer. I grew
Yeah.
up in Burlington. I was terrified of bees, and I've never been stung by anything like that. Like I've never been stung by a wasp. I've never been stung
Never
by
in your whole life.
no, never. So I don't know if I'm allergic to them or anything like that. So I'm like, and I'm still like, anytime there's like a buzzing, I'm like, no, thank you. And I mean, I also love honey. Like I'm a big honey person. Like so, what kind of got you started into beekeeping? Because I mean, we're from the Hammer. How the hell do you just decide, like, oh yeah, I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, or Burlington, Ontario, Dundas, whatever? Like, I'm gonna get into beekeeping. Like, how did that start up for you?
So yeah, typically it is generational that you see beekeepers. I am the first of my family. I've been doing it for about 8 years now.
Holy
And like I
shit!
said, the
And how old
farm
are you?
lost its
25?
life. So I'm no,
25?
I'm 33 in June.
Good lord. Good for you, hun.
Beekeeping, dude. It keeps you
I was
young.
gonna say, is that the secret? Good lord. Good for
Seriously,
you,
I
hun.
started aging backwards when I started beekeeping.
Oh my god.
But yeah, anyways, as I was saying, we got some life on the farm with the hives. They didn't make it. And I was like, I need to seek out some help. So I found a really good mentor. And that is what really made me fall in love with bees. I already liked them, but then I fell in love with them because they are the most fascinating creatures. You're like, I
She's
just don't
just
get
like,
it.
I don't know.
But why? So just to let you know, everybody's going to have a reaction when they first get stung. When I got my first bee sting, my thumb swelled up and I went, "Oh no, am I allergic to bees?" And then even better, oh, I wish I could show you the picture. Getting stung in the face, that blew up. I was unrecognizable. But now I can get stung in the face anywhere and it doesn't even swell. So you develop an immunity.
She's got no words. We've stunned her into silence.
Speechless.
I mean,
I can attest to the being stung in the face. I have been stung in the eyelid and the whole side of my face. You look like I looked like Quasimodo for a while. It was
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not fun. I can't say I've been stung by a lot of honeybees necessarily. Wasps, yellow
I don't
jackets,
really know
all
the
those.
difference.
Yes.
The
And they
jerk
do actually
ones.
all have different venoms too. So you can be allergic to one and not the other. And there's
That-
about 800 species of bees in North
I'm sorry,
America
what?
alone. 20,000 species in the world. 800 in North America, not
That's
including
wild.
wasps and hornets.
That's
Well, I mean,
wild.
okay, so that was part of the next question. Are there different types of bees, and which ones do you
Absolutely.
keep?
So I deal with specifically Apis mellifera, and that is a honeybee. And the
Okay.
honeybee is actually derived more so from Asia, despite it being called a European honeybee. Those are the ones that produce a surplus of honey, and they actually overwinter and stay as a colony. Other species are mostly solitary bees, and they don't produce a surplus of nectar.
So what's a solitary bee? I'm sorry. I'm so new
So
and
solitary bee
you're getting
could
lots of questions and I'm
that's
really
okay.
sorry for that because I
I
mean,
love
I
it.
was
I love to
not
regurgitate. It's my favorite.
I'm terrified of bees and this is fascinating to me because I do love honey, but I'm terrified of bees. So
So
I
yes,
have all the questions.
most of them are solitary. Solitary sometimes will live within a network surrounded by other solitary queens, and they'll lay their eggs to brood in that network. But a lot of them will literally just have their own solo spot. They go lay their eggs, they give them what they need, and then they go away. And they're solitary. So only the queen will live
I
in the
was gonna say,
wintertime.
so there's a queen bee still.
Yes. Yeah. She goes and lays all of the babies, and then she overwinters by herself in the winter. So bumblebees will have a colony, but only about 400 strong in the summer. And then a honeybee will have up to 80,000.
Wow.
So the difference between a bumblebee and a honeybee?
So there's actually several different kinds of bumblebees too. The
Oh
bumbus.
no. You gotta be kidding me. Good lord. I
Yeah.
feel so
Some
uncultured right now. Like, oh yeah,
yeah.
there's a bumblebee, there's a honey. Like, I thought it was all the same. Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm just not cultured
It's pretty
in
I mean,
any
there's like 10
way,
different
shape, or
types of
form.
ladybugs. There's like 10,000 species of Apiliones. Those are
Oof.
like a daddy long leg.
The ones
Bugs
that
are
are actually
wild, dude.
ridiculously venomous, but because they're rear fanged, not front fanged. So I know about that because that's like snakes
I
and
don't
okay.
actually know if they are venomous. That might be
So
a
no, daddy
I swear
longlegs
I
are actually
googled it.
one of the most daddy longlegs are actually one of the most venomous I forget the scientific name. Um they're not arachnids, but something.
They're
But
an
because
Apilione.
They
they're
aren't a
rear
spider, aren't they?
they're a spider. I don't know the actual name, but because they're rear fanged and because whatever gets in their mouth is not like it because it goes behind them. So there's rear fanged and
Yeah.
there's front fanged. That's what I know about. Rear fanged, a lot of them, like even garter snakes. So garter snakes is actually venomous, but because they're rear fanged and their fangs are in the back of their mouths where they don't actually touch humans, they're not described as venomous. So that's anyway. That's what are
I
you?
can't. I don't have my glasses on.
I
Anyway,
just Google
back
everything.
to the
Anyways.
bees. Back to the bees. I don't want to talk about like I want to learn about the bees, so I'm not
We're talking
terrified of
about
them.
bees.
We're talking about
Yeah,
the birds and
we're
the
talking
bees
about the
now.
bees. Okay,
Yeah.
Chrissy, you're up because
Um,
I'm just blown away too much right now. I'm like
so
this knowledge.
she's like, "What the heck is
Oh,
happening?"
I am.
Kind of take us through like a typical day. What sort of tasks need to be done in order to keep the hives healthy? That sort of thing.
How many hives do
Okay.
you have? Never mind. Sorry, I need to stop. I'm
Immediately
just
after
so
the
like
question. I love it. So typically there isn't really a typical day. I mean, there's always different jobs, whether it's feeding, whether it's checking varroa mite
feeding,
levels.
feeding.
Um,
What? What are you
so
feeding them?
sometimes
Sorry.
your hives will be too light in the spring, and in order to keep your brood going, the babies, the larvae, the pupa, you need to make sure that they have enough pollen. So sometimes you'll give them pollen patty supplements in order to feed that growth. The brood is going to be what grows the hive continuously throughout the summer.
Cool.
We're
So what's the
checking for
brood?
queens. We're
Sorry, what's the
checking if
brood?
they're laying. Brood are baby bees. So that's
Okay.
brood can be open brood. And then once it's in its pupating phase, it's capped brood.
Okay.
And that will be either a worker bee or a drone, which is a female or a male.
Okay.
But yeah, day to day is all over the place. There are so many tasks involved, and you can hope for synchronicity, but sometimes hives just have a different personality or they have a different influence, or they've gotten into something bad, or a skunk is bothering them. Like it keeps you on your toes.
So like I'm thinking like Magic School Bus type stuff.
There is
Yes,
a
it
Magic
is
School Bus
Crystal.
episode we are going to get you to watch this after.
Oh well,
I must.
so do you like so each I don't even know box. I'm assuming it's in a box. It's in a
Yes.
box.
Yeah.
So each of those has a queen bee and stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
So
and then
they're brood chambers.
good lord, all this new stuff. So what happens? Like the queen bee again? Like, do you control her, or like, what if
So
she
actually,
decides
the
to
bees
bugger
control
off
her.
and
She can only fly when she's a virgin, or if she's being superseded. Sometimes she can take off and swarm to a nearby place with part of the colony. That's how they naturally reproduce and split. But it isn't a monarchy like everybody thinks. And as much as I control sort of the introduction, I can't control the weather if she goes out on a mating flight and it turns, or say a bird if it tries to eat her, right? So my control factor is very minimal. I try as much as possible just to give them everything they need based on what I'm looking at. Her job is strictly an egg layer. She walks around, she lives her entire life in the hive after going on a few mating flights potentially, and just lays fertilized eggs. But she's the only one who can lay fertilized eggs.
Okay.
Tris, you sound like you have a question. So go ahead.
So what happens if she does leave the hive? Like, do you have to get a replacement queen? Are you
Yeah.
able to retrieve her if she's nearby?
If she leaves in a swarm, that means that she's been superseded. There's no point in combining that hive again. They've naturally split themselves, which is something that I try to do in a controlled environment. So she's gonna be in her. I'm gonna go catch her, but she's gonna be in a new hive,
And
and
you're going
then
to set up a new one.
yes, so then I'll
Okay.
check and see what happened, why they wanted to supersede her. If she's not laying well, then maybe she might have to unfortunately be pinched and replaced in order to increase productivity.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got to circle back for a second because I'm just so how do you set up a hive? You like like this is so fascinating to me because I'm terrified of bugs. Well, not bugs, but bees. How do you like set this up? Like, because I'm assuming it's like a box or what have you. Because I've seen things on the YouTubes and the social medias.
The
I could be
Googles.
wrong. Could be wrong. So don't quote me on anything like that. But like, so how do you set this? Like, how do you set it up?
So how do I set it up, or how does somebody who doesn't have bees set it up?
How do
Me. Okay.
you as Hammer Hives,
Yes.
Hamilton based, so how do you because like you're talking about queens like buggering off and stuff like that, but
Yep.
like
Swarms happen.
how do you catch, like, do you buy the bees, do you catch the bees, like how does
So
that
I actually make my own queens. That's what I specialize in, is queen and nuke production.
okay,
So
well
I'm
we're gonna
selling
get back to
people
that.
bees. Yeah, I'm selling. It's not just honey. It's honey's actually kind of more my side game. Like that's a lot of work. Honey is just very heavy lifting. It's very strenuous and it's very tedious. Queen production, I really enjoy. It's a lot more immersive in the actual bug aspect of the realm. So what I actually do is I take a hive that I already overwintered, and in the spring, like right now, it's booming. I take frames of brood, those are the babies, and I put them in another hive, and I separate those frames, keep a queen in one, and then leave the other one queenless, and then I graft a larva and turn it into a virgin queen and then put it in that queenless hive. I then let her go on her natural mating flight and hope that she makes it back. And then that's a sellable nucleus colony.
So how do you graft to create a queen?
Okay, so first of all, I need a nursing colony that is a box of bees, as you would say, and it's full, but they're all completely queenless. Plus, it is all only capped brood. And then what I would do is I go into a colony with open brood, so I can scoop out 3-day-old larva that has a little bit of royal jelly in it, and put that in a specific cell in which I made with wax cups and a little mold. That's the right size for a queen. When you put those cells, or those cups, I should say, in a nursing colony, they want a queen so bad that they turn them all into cells. Then I incubate them, hatch them, cage them, put a tenant in, and put them in a hive.
Huh.
This is honestly probably the most scientific, fascinating conversation I've had in all of the episodes.
I love it.
I mean, I'm like, this is, and I'm not mad at it. It's so fascinating.
Okay,
you are a Canadian woman of the outdoors. Like
you,
I mean, I would, and I like, again, I love honey. We got your rosemary lip balm. Into it.
Yep.
Like,
that's my girl from Both Sides Studio. Shout out.
But good Lord, there's just so many questions to ask you, because, like, again, I'm so not into the bee thing because I'm terrified of them.
You got to come out to the farm one day. I'll put you in a suit. No. I promise you will not be scared. Like,
I mean, I would do it.
I had my veil on today. I was working in a sports bra and pants, and I got stung once in my finger because I touched a butt. Don't touch butts without consent.
Okay, so here's my question, because, again, I'm ignorant. And I mean, Chrissy, I'm sorry, I'm delving off topic of what we talked about earlier.
Do your thing.
I'm ignorant, and because I am from the city, I'm from Burlington. So, like, again, I'm terrified of being stung by wasps and bees. Is a bee sting, like, what is that gonna murder me? Like, I don't know. I've never been stung, and I don't know if I'm gonna die or not. Like, what's the difference between a bee sting and
I don't know the statistics of people who are allergic to bee stings and people who aren't, but I do know that a lot of allergy reactions get misdiagnosed, and then people fear being stung just because they had a severe local reaction. I've had severe local reactions. For 2 years of beekeeping, I had them. And like I said, now I don't. There is also the other way. You can get too many and be overwhelmed. But we're talking hundreds of stings. And it's just not very likely if you're doing things properly and you do have that gear just in case things get a little tricky, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good Lord. This is just so fascinating to me. I honestly, like.
So how many hives do you have?
Yeah.
I run about 50. It does fluctuate throughout the season. I usually do about 30 honey producers.
Wow.
So okay, so you 50 hives, 30 honey producers. What if you're doing 30 honey producers? What are you doing with the other 20?
So I keep them in order to sell nukes and then just build strong colonies that'll overwinter without stressing them out taking honey.
Oh my God, this is so much more fascinating. And
guys, that is nothing. More. I work with people who run 2,500 hives. I looked at 170 nucleus colonies today and yesterday.
I honestly have to apologize for being so ignorant, because
no, don't apologize.
I truly
had here.
And that's exactly it. Like, I truly had, and that's, I mean, how many times have you and I, like, I'm glad we finally connected, and I can't,
absolutely.
Like, I feel like this is gonna be like there's gonna be need to be a part 2, because I'm so fascinated. Like, again, I'm terrified of bees, but I'm just ridiculously fascinated by it. So like, how does it change with the seasons? Like, you got summer, like, and I mean, Hamilton, like, the weather fluctuates. Like,
Yes.
how does that change, um, like, your what you got to do and stuff like that?
So bees are very resilient. This year, obviously, we had a very mild winter. It was really
Oh,
good for the bees. People were asking me about fluctuations, and honestly, like my bees didn't seem to have a problem with the fluctuations. They weren't severe enough and fast enough, I think, to really affect them. As long as you keep the moisture levels in your hives regulated, they're likely not going to freeze to death. They can survive crazy cold temperatures, especially my breed of queen, which is an Italian Carniolan splice. So that comes from the Hungarian region. So it is used to colder temperatures. Um, it's not directly those lines. This has been genetically bred into essentially an Ontario honeybee over many years. So
good Lord. Like, so blown
that's what
away
I
with all
need,
this knowledge.
regurgitation.
This isn't just like, oh, look at the cute little honeybee. Like, there's so much more that goes into it than.
Honestly, it's intense. Like I said, I got my first 2 hives and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna have a couple hives." And I'm like, "Oh no, like this is a whole
So
world."
I I'm just blown away by the amount of science, and here I am thinking like, oh, it's a bee is a bee is a bee. Like,
I
I'm
would say
actually
20,000 different species beg to argue
I'm
about that.
I am legitimately, and it's not that
Yeah,
I'm like that. I am trying not to be ignorant, just because again I'm not educated. Ignorance is uneducation.
yeah.
So, and that's why, like, this is
And
so
it's not even
fascinating to
not
me.
education, it's not wanting that
Well,
education. You're
and
clearly
I do.
seeking that out.
I am, and like I think this is so fascinating, but I'm speechless because I'm like, I had no idea about any of these things that you have mentioned so far. So, I mean, you're bringing my ignorance to light, and I mean that sucks
It's
for.
not ignorance. Let's change it to just unaware.
I
Because
yes,
you're
I'm
not
unaware.
ignorant.
And then I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. When I was like, yes, I'm having Hammer Hives on, I have no idea what to ask her. Because I didn't know anything. And then Chrissy was like, oh, A, B, C, and D. And I was like, okay, Chrissy, well, you're coming on as a co on this one.
Lucy.
Yeah, Chrissy, well, we've been talking about her coming on as a co-host for a bit now.
Amazing.
It's not new, but I'm just like, okay, well, I'm like, yeah, I have these questions, but I feel like that's not enough to start a conversation, like, because I'm just terrified of bees. Um, so I'm like, yeah, I want her on because that's awesome that she has like a hive in like the Dundas Hamilton area, and I feel like we could continue this conversation for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Um, well, because yes, there's just so many fascinating qualities about it. Like, you're in Hamilton and you raise bees. Like,
So
you're in
don't get me wrong, I am
Hamilton,
in the forest. I am on a farm that's 40 acres. So Hamilton's
but you're
close.
still
Close.
Hamilton.
Yeah. True.
So what's like being closer to the city? Is there more less pest problems? Is there issues you run into? Is there,
So it's actually almost more beneficial being closer to the city because they have stricter limits on pesticide use within the city. That being said, people will still go buy their plants from, I'm not going to name any big names, but just, your regular hardware store. And they do, in fact, come already coated with that imidacloprid, with those systemic insecticides that do kill bees. So there is not really safety in a lot of places. I would say up north you're pretty safe, but then you got bears. So I
true.
mean it's a tough world out there for a bee and a beekeeper, but we try to make it work. And
Okay,
Yeah.
So, other than, sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
No, I was gonna say, like, right now, like, what do you have a threat to the bees, or like what's like, how are you keeping the bee? Because I mean, again, I don't know whether you've been having down there. Like, how do you keep your bees safe? Like, what?
So we have the
Also, a
varroa
question,
mite.
like, do
Yeah.
your bees? It's side note.
So
Do
many
your
questions.
bees?
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I love
This
it. I love all the
I
questions. I think there's a delay
so
though.
your bees know that your hives are their hives, and they come back to that, right? Like, are
Yes.
they okay? So how do you keep your bees safe? Like, with like the weather and everything, like your bees already, like, how do you protect them? Like, how? I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah.
Like,
So the weather definitely is a factor. We do put winter wraps on if it gets a little too cold.
sorry,
I
we're ignorant.
You're not ignorant at all. I really love your questions. So yeah, we do winter wraps if it gets too cold. We make sure that there's a proper airflow, so
What's a
there's no
winter wrap?
condensation buildup.
So I'm
It's
thinking
like
like,
a black insulated wrap that goes
okay,
around your hive. So it's a
okay,
windbreaker as well as an insulator
okay,
because they do maintain the internal temperature of their hive between 20 and 30 degrees over the winter time. It's very warm. You take a thermal gun, you see the red. And they cluster the queen and hibernate that way. We do also have a varroa mite. That's a pest. It's kind of like a parasite, and they're becoming more resilient to treatments. So we're working on new treatments all the time. Hopefully, there's one being released this year that's very, very good. Um, Other than that, I mean, you have American foul brood and you have nosema. There's a lot of factors. Nosema is essentially diarrhea.
of a
That's
bee.
Yes, yeah. If you open your hive and it's covered in brown goo, that is nosema. So there's a lot of things, but typically the biggest ones we see are the systemic insecticide effects. That's spinning around, patchy brood, cleaning out brood. The winter bees don't ever emerge, or we see varroa mite, which we do have an effective treatment for. The pesticides we don't have a treatment for,
Unfortunately.
and it's in our water.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Poor Nicole is
I
speechless at
know.
this
I'm like,
point.
I'm
that's
like,
how I feel.
I'm literally just blown away with this conversation about bees. Just
So
because I'm so, as bad as it sounds, I was not intelligent, and I'm not gonna call it ignorance anymore. I was just not intelligent,
so
and
going off of that,
I've now have a new respect, and hoping this conversation, like, I have a new respect for all the bees.
Aw, there
Not
you
fear.
go. Next step. Just
Not
Right.
fear.
you know,
Not fear.
put a
going
suit
off
on
of
and come
like,
out.
Chrissy, you're up, because I'm just like,
she's speechless. So, um, is there things that we can do to support them so that there's like less, obviously not using insecticides, trying to buy more organic plants or natural plants that aren't already sprayed,
Yeah.
planting a bee garden. I don't know, like what can we do
I
to help
mean,
support
it's
this?
definitely nice, but it's hard to say because like I said, it's in the water, right? So you could have a stream out back and you're like, look at my little paradise and plant a garden next to it. And bam, there's 4 parts per billion of imidacloprid. And that's enough to affect a bee to eliminate its ability for its neurotransmitters to transfer signals. So it cannot fly anymore. It cannot eat anymore, take care of its babies. Um, that being said, it's always worth the effort that maybe you do have clean land and maybe you do give them a clean place to pollinate. You never know. People can test their water. So it does cost a pretty penny. I do it every year in my pond just to monitor the levels. You can take it to Guelph University, scoop up the water, and they'll test it at parts per billion because our clean water drinking facility doesn't even test that small.
Wow.
so where do you want to see the future of beekeeping? Like, where do you want this to go? Obviously, it's a big thing because I've heard like save the bees and everything like that. And again, I am not intelligent when it comes to this side of things. I feel that I should not be afraid of them stinging me anymore. And save them and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
where would you like to see this go? Like,
There's
again, like
a few issues I could definitely target.
you talk about like this
Golf
is
courses. Y'all gotta
you
chill. You put way
you
chemicals
talk
down
about
for
all
pretty
you
putting
want to talk
green.
about it. We don't like we
Um,
are
I would just like people to have more of an understanding of the actual chemicals that they're using. For instance, do you guys have pets?
yes.
Yep.
Do you treat them with flea and tick guard?
Yes.
Yes.
There is imidacloprid in flea and tick guard.
No.
And if you ask your vet, they do not even know what imidacloprid is. This is
I
because
have no
vets are
idea what the hell
private
that means.
practices, and there are big pharmaceutical companies that target private practices to push their medicine. So Europe just posted an article that said, "Oh my God, we banned this chemical and it's still in our water." And they found out it's because people are washing their animals too soon after putting that revolution or flea and tick guard
Treatment.
Oh
on.
yeah, the flea.
So it's
Yeah.
washing off into the water rather than being fully absorbed, which do you really want that fully absorbed in your pet? Now, I understand ticks are completely out of control right now. You know, there are some things that we just
Depending
need to
on
balance out
depending
and
on the
take our
area.
losses
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a balance. And right now, there is not a balance. And that is the problem.
I would not have thought of that.
No.
The more you know.
Well, I feel like I've learned just and I have more questions. I have more questions, but I'm like, I don't want to annoy the woman because I'm just so I'm like
Not annoyed at all. No, I love it.
I'm
I
just
love chatting about it.
okay, so what as a beekeeper, what's your favorite part about being a beekeeper? Like how many bees do you keep and like you're obviously in so you said Dundas, Ontario. Like again, I've been there, done that, lived in the city. I get that. How like do you have to have like a specific like what's it called? Like
Hermit?
but permit. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in order to sell queens and nukes, you do have to have an inspection,
Yeah.
and you have to have that queen and nuke selling permit, as
What
per
is
passing
sorry,
the
what is it
inspection.
called?
It's a queen and nuke selling permit. It might
Mhm.
not be called that specifically, but
Okay.
that's what it does.
And what is that you have a queen bee and
So essentially, I can sell my bees. So they've been inspected to ensure that they're healthy and I'm not transferring any sort of viruses or mites.
where
So
the
they
hell do
come
you
and
buy
inspect
bees?
them.
Like, like
You'd be surprised. Within like an hour of me,
I'm
there's
sorry.
like
It's just,
7 guys that sell bees.
I'm just like I find this so fascinating that you like good for you. Like, and I mean, I have your lip balm and it's amazing, and I just like where like you can literally buy bees. Is that actually a thing?
Yep. You could literally go to my website and buy bees right there
If I wanted to put
and
hives
then
on my
come pick
farm,
them up.
I would be on the internet Googling where to buy
So
a
you
hive,
don't
or
Yeah,
actually
coming to
need
you, obviously.
it
so you
pops up
don't
actually. Yeah.
so you don't actually need like a license or anything to
To just buy them, no, but to sell them, yes. And you are supposed to register them and then report if you've seen anything that you feel like could be a threat. You also should know enough. So, yes, anybody can get them. Do I advise anybody to get them? Absolutely not. Learn about it before you get it because you could potentially be harming beekeepers around you or the environment around you through not understanding proper practices and keeping your bees healthy and safe. If they swarm with varroa mite and they land in somebody else's yard, you could be completely screwing another beekeeper over who might be in between treatments.
Fair enough.
so again so what was it you and LA mentioned like the different types of honey because like now we're gonna get on harvesting um do you have different types of honey, or do you just have one specific type of honey?
So me personally, I only have one. I do a blend of all 3 seasons, the spring, summer, and fall. That's because, like I said, I'm not primarily a honey producer. I also don't do pollination, and that's where you typically see the single source honey, like the blueberry honey or even lavender honey. I also don't infuse anything in my honey. It's straight up to make that many more labels and have a completely new $4,000 tank to put all the honey in to make that single batch. That's not on my list. I'm trying to help the bees, save the bees, teach people about bees. That is my main focus.
So what do you offer then? Just out of curiosity, like what?
So I do
Because
beginner
you
beekeeping
did have
lessons.
the booth at the Sportsman Show, so I mean we bought stuff from the Sportsman Show, but
yeah.
our listeners, like, what do you offer?
So yeah, I sell the bees, the queens. I do beginner beekeeping lessons, experiences, wedding favors. You have honey dippers from local makers. I do also partner with a lot of local makers. That's your lip chap. That's both sides studio. She uses my honey and beeswax. And then the beeswax candles, which are honestly, I feel like everybody should have an emergency little votive beeswax candle in their car just in case. They put off a lot of heat. They're a really long burning candle. That's being good kind of survival candles too, right?
I love my beeswax candles. They're my favorites.
Yay.
So I don't even know where I was going with that. Like I'm just so like this conversation is fascinating because I don't know where to go with this conversation because I can keep it going because I have all the questions, but I'm trying to keep it like because I'm terrified of bees, and I'm like,
If I talk about them, they might visit me in my dreams.
Yeah, Chrissy, what do you got? Come up. Help me out here because I'm just terrified.
Obviously, like pests and disease and pesticides are a challenge that you guys face. Climate change, the changing weather systems, the changing patterns, that sort of thing. Do you see an impact with that? If you do, how are you adapting to dealing with that?
Personally, I mean, I don't see it being such a threat. And a lot of people might argue that, but I just want a little quick history lesson here. The bees have existed since the Cretaceous era. They existed before the meteor hit the planet Earth and wiped out dinosaurs, which brought mammals into existence. We only
Not
exist
wrong. I mean,
because of
you're
that
not
meteor.
wrong.
So, can the bees handle climate change? Can they handle a immensely quick impact such as a meteor that caused darkness and cold and whatever else? Yeah, absolutely. They can live underground after being dumped on by volcanic ash for 50 days. Like,
Wow.
they are incredible creatures. And the fact that we are killing them, our species is killing them to monopolize on farming is like really, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing to me. We had a cataclysmic, universal incident happen and they survived.
And then here we are with modern technology that is currently killing them.
Well, the amount of time I actually see, like, again, the amount of time I actually see, like, people saying, like, save the bees, save the bees, save the bees. I'm like, okay, like, if everybody is posting save the bees, like, how really are they affecting us long term? Clearly, it's a big thing if we are trying to save the bees. Again, terrified of buzzing in my ear, and I think that I think it's just more so it's not terrified. I'm not terrified of bees. I just
You
buzzing
just don't
in my ear.
understand yet, right?
Exactly.
Like I can tell
And
the difference of a buzz from a drone or a worker, like or a wasp. So you can understand
there's different.
there's different, yeah, there's different tones that they hum at. There's different
There's
frequencies.
tones. Oh my
Yes.
good Lord. Okay.
And smells as well. So you could tell if a hive is queenless
See?
by the smell of it.
Okay. So I am not okay.
Wow.
I didn't
all
know
the little
that.
things, the more
Different tones.
awareness you have of a creature, the less you fear it.
So I do have a question though. If will a like I think it was my grandmother that always said this. a honeybee will not sting you unless you are a threat to them. Is that true? Is that just an old wives' tale? Like
No, it's true. In fact,
okay.
they will continuously bounce off of you to try and deter you before stinging you. They
Wow.
really don't want to. And in fact,
Do
they're a
they
little
actually have
fumbly
stingers?
too. Yeah, so the females have stingers. They are barbed stingers. The males don't have any stinger. It's directly
Oh, there's
correlated with
actually
an
like male
ovipositor,
female?
which is an egg-laying device.
Oh my god, all these things I'm learning about bees. I had no freaking clue. I didn't even know there was male, female. I thought there was the queen, and there was all the little male workers. I
Nope.
had no
Female
idea.
workers, all girls. Males don't
There
even have
is
a
female.
tongue or proboscis long enough to forage. Only the females do any of the pollinating, any of
I
the
feel
tending to
like
the hive.
I
Males
feel like
only
we need to
mate.
do an episode where we go down there and work for a day,
Come on
and
out.
then just do some filming, and like we do some work for a day, and I
Yeah,
learn
let's
all about this
go.
stuff. Like,
And you get over your fear of
Heck
bees?
yes. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I
Goosebumps.
You're
yeah.
not alone though. Like one of my daughters is absolutely petrified of anything that flies. Like I'm talking flies, mosquitoes, everything. She's absolutely terrified of anything that flies around with wings. And I was
I
trying to
got kid
explain to her.
suits.
I was trying to explain to her that a honeybee, like they won't sting unless they're upset at you or you are threatening them in any way, shape, or form. Like she's terrified of bumblebees, and I'm like, they're big flying panda bears. How can you be scared of this thing? Like they're adorable.
So
Truly.
they won't actually sting you?
They can. I'm not saying
They
they can't.
won't.
They don't
So
want to,
okay.
but they might. I hit one on a motorcycle once, on the back of a motorcycle, and it hit my chest and like it stung me, but I also hit it at, 60 kilometers an hour. Warranted. They will sting you if it's warranted. They're not
So
going to come after you for
when
no reason though.
when you go and deal with your bees, are you like you have like the get up and like
Nope.
no.
So today, sometimes I do. It all depends on their behavior. If there's a lot of robbing in the yard, robbers are older bees. They don't really have much more life in them. So they will actually come after you sometimes because they're in a frenzy trying to rob and bring resources back home, especially in the spring and the fall. Um,
So when you say resources, it's like
it's
more.
propolis, which is tree resin, which they combine with beeswax and a
Okay.
little bit of bee spit. That's what they use to keep their hive clean and virus free, and also seal the cracks.
Okay.
Antimicrobial, antibacterial. They also forage nectar, which then they dehydrate through regurgitation into honey. And then that honey, if they consume it through their second stomach, will potentially be turned into wax. So they have to drink 6 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax.
Wow. It's a lot of work.
So so again, okay, so your honey, your wax, like you
Yeah.
have your business obviously is honey and what like so your lip balm, your candles, like so you is that's what you harvest from them, the
Yes.
bees.
Yes.
So how do you harvest it from that and turn it into that? Just
So the honey, I make sure that it's completely capped. The bees know the perfect moisture content or humidity index for the honey to be, which in order for me to label it as Ontario number one, it has to be under 18%. So it starts off at about 60%, and then they take away the water slowly, slowly dehydrate it.
what does that mean? Sorry. Like
The nectar.
eh,
So when they go forage on a flower, the nectar that they get from that flower is about 60% moisture
okay.
content,
Okay.
60%
Okay.
water. So
Okay.
then when they take it in their little honey stomach after sucking it up, they have two stomachs again, one for storing the nectar that they regurgitate and then suck back up or share through trophallaxis, which is bee kisses back and forth between each
Okay.
other.
Okay.
That will take away the water. Then they store it in the cell, and when it's at the perfect humidity index, they cap it. So that's when I extract the honey and I take a cap off. I spin it and I put it through my little small filter, which is just like cheesecloth,
Yeah. Okay.
essentially. Take out the chunks. Um, and then from that extraction, I take those wax cappings and I render them down into beeswax, which I turn into
Okay.
candles.
Well, yeah, the candles, and then I mean, again, we well, Caitlin and I tried your the rosemary. I think it was rosemary.
Rosemary lip balm. I know. I actually have it on my
Oh,
lips right now. I just put it on before
it was
this.
fantastic.
Yeah, it is
Fantastic.
beautiful. She's a local herbalist that actually makes that blend, and then she uses my beeswax and honey for it. So
I was gonna say
works out
you.
wonderfully.
So you sell your beeswax and stuff to it,
Yes.
or
Yes.
Chrissy, you got any more questions? We're almost approaching that hour, so
We're getting close.
I was gonna say, got any more questions?
Any advice, tips, tricks, equipment
anybody that wants to be a
required for
beekeeper?
anybody that wants to get into this to start? Obviously, doing your research first is pretty critical, but
Yes. Yeah. So just don't get too ahead of yourself. The biggest mistake that new beekeepers make is they just get too ambitious and they want to check their hive all the time. You have to give them time to grow and time to themselves so that they can do so. Other than that, make sure that you talk to a few beekeepers. There are beekeeping meetings in every region. Go attend some of those. Find a mentor. That is going to be your absolute best bet. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me too.
Yeah, well, so we are going to promote the hell out of you online. If anybody has any interest in beekeeping, it's going to be like, this is the girl. This is our girl.
Thank
Hammer
you.
Hives. Hammer
Appreciate it.
Hives. If you have questions, comments, or anything, reach out to her. I mean, you've answered questions that I didn't even know I thought I needed answers to. Because I was just like, what? That's it's been a, I don't even know how to describe it, because it's just been different.
it's been a very educational.
It has. It has. And I mean, when I met you at the Sportsman Show, and I was like, yes. And then I'm like, oh, I really knew nothing about beekeeping. Like, after, like, I met you and we shook hands and we talked and we bought your stuff, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have her on, but I know nothing about beekeeping. What the hell am I gonna ask her? Like,
I know, and I'm sitting here like I am gonna nerd out too hard, and I think I
oh,
did, but I hope you
there
liked
is
it.
No.
we could probably talk. We could probably continue talking, and
Awesome.
we might have another episode. There
Round
might
two.
be an episode 2, because, like, again, what happens in the fall now? Like, because I feel like, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably a season for bees. Like,
Yeah, in Canada it is now. It
you're
is
not
starting.
gonna get shit in the fall. You're probably gonna have a hell of a summer.
Yeah.
And then you're not gonna get nothing in the fall.
And then I'm going to the Sportsman Show. So the fall is for harvesting, right? But yeah,
Well, that's
that's
the
what's up.
thing. Like, we will probably sit down again and be like, hey, yeah, the beekeeper that we Hammer Hives, we had her on in whatever month it is, April. So now we're talking about, like, the realistic. That's the thing. If you want to be a beekeeper, in Canada, like, yes, you have your months that are
workable.
Yeah. And then, so what, before we leave, so your months that are, like, best in Canada, like, what have you thought so far?
I would say probably mid-May, just because I love bees when they're waking up, and that's usually the time you get to start interacting, not this early,
Interacting.
until about September.
Okay, so when you say interacting, like, you're just gonna go hang out with bees?
Yes, it's like my favorite pastime.
How many times have you been
I'll
stung?
send you videos after this. You'll see what I did the past couple days. It's wild. You'll probably like get shivers and stuff, but
We're also going to get her to watch the Magic School Bus episode of Inside the Hive so that she's
heck yes.
more.
Keep going. Just anything but the bee movie, please.
That bee movie was so stupid. Like,
so
and that was
wrong.
It was just weird, because, like, it was like, I was like, that's terrible. And then all of a sudden, like, they're in a relationship with, like, a bee and a human. I'm like, that's okay.
This is interesting, and I'm out.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not really into that. Thank you, though. Thank you though.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, like things like that. Again, things like that though, where like people are probably like,
Misinformation. I
yeah,
hate
and
it.
again, yeah, and that's exactly it. People are probably like, "What the fuck is that?" And I said, "No, that's not actually a thing." Like,
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It was good chats. The
Yes,
hour flew by.
I was gonna say I don't even know what time we're at right now. It's probably over the hour, but
No,
it
we're
is what it
close. We're
is.
close. We're good. It's like really small up there.
It is what it is. We'll probably have you back on again. Yeah, thank you for coming on, talking about the bees. The bees' knees are coming up this season. Like again, it's. I may not be as afraid. Undecided. Undecided. I'm unsure if I will be afraid. It depends on how much they. Well,
We'll
I
get
think
you
it's
there.
more
Baby steps.
wasp. I think it's more wasp. I don't know if I don't know if it's bees.
And we'll work on that. We'll do bees first, and then
Yeah.
I'll get to wasps because they're my friends too.
Oh, you like wasp too. I got nothing.
Yeah,
Chris, you got it. You got anything?
The wasps and I don't get along. So.
Okay, they're misunderstood. We'll get there. That'll be episode 3.
I avoid them.
Episode 4.0.
Yeah.
Nicole handling wasps.
Oh,
Non-existent. Chris, you got any words to leave with?
I think we're good. Thanks for coming on. That was I learned a lot.
Awesome.
Things even I didn't know.
I was gonna say
Hey,
like there's no questions you got left or anything like that.
No, I think we covered most of the things we had jotted down.
And if we don't, then we'll just have to have you on again, I think. Do you fish? Do you want to come up here and fish with us?
Heck yes, I do. Let's go.
Oh, you do fish.
No, just teach me better fishing.
Oh, honey, if you want to fish, you got to come up here and fish with us. Like,
please, yes.
Bruce County fishing is something else. So
it's next level.
Yeah.
Oh, so you come on my podcast, then you come up here and we'll fish with you. So
down deal.
But Chris, you got nothing?
I think we're good. We covered everything. It was a great chat. Right. Had a good time.
All right. So
I'm gonna hit the hay.
Stay tuned. We are doing a honey or something kind of giveaway, or we're unsure of what.
We'll do some honey, a little dipper.
We'll do something.
Candles. That'll be something cool.
We'll do a little giveaway here. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Thank you to our sponsors, Revolution Armory and True North Baits. Thank you guys so much. Anyway, we're out for this year. Good Lord. We're out for this session. Stop laughing, you two. We're out for this session. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys. See ya.